Hello, my name is Ripley. Welcome to the video.
Hello, my beautiful schmucks. I hope you're doing well today. I have nothing to plug except my recent collaborations with the film fella. For that, we got together to discuss WandaVision, the MCU, and how WandaVision will impact the MCU moving forward. But we also took time to make fun of people who make fan theories. So if that's something you want to get into, make sure you click the links down below. I would plug my podcast, but we're not really doing anything on it right now, so it's not worth it. So anyway, let's get into this. Gonna be a short inciting incident on this episode, but I just want to let you know that if this is the first one you're watching, then welcome to my Monsterverse rewatch. We're making our way to Godzilla vs. Kong. So today, we're looking at Kong Skull Island, which released in 2017. So let's get into it. So we open on some World War II fighters for the US and Japan, landing on a beach, and already this movie looks 100 times better than Godzilla as far as the lighting goes. This movie is actually very vibrant and colorful, and I am completely on board with that, especially when you compare it to Godzilla, which was this really drab, colorless, dark as fuck movie, which I didn't hate, but when you compare this movie to that movie, I like that I can actually see what's going on. So after a cold open, we get the opening credit sequence in the vein of Godzilla with news clips and whatnot, but this doesn't do it for me like Godzilla's opening did, because in Godzilla, it was a good way of telling the audience about humanity's relationship with Godzilla, and it was backed by an epic score. Here, it's just Vietnam shit with a meh score. So John Goodman and his sidekick are in DC looking for some guy to fund their field trip. Like in Godzilla, these characters just aren't interesting, but we're stuck with them anyway. Also, I don't know any of their names, so I'm back to calling people by their real names or their more popular roles. John Goodman's character isn't actually that bad, he's kind of funny. Samuel L. Jackson's actually really good in this movie, and John C. Reilly is the best character in this movie. But that's it, nobody else, everybody else sucks. So John Goodman and his sidekick get their trip up and running, but they need a crew, so they seek out Samuel L. Jackson. Sam Jackson's character is this prick who's obsessed with war and is really sad that the Vietnam War is ending, and I find that very interesting. I also really like that as soon as he gets a chance to go to war with a big monkey, he gets really horny. John Goodman and his sidekick go to this bar to get their next crew member and find Loki. Loki's intro here is super cliche, and this pool scene is terribly edited. Like, who the fuck edited this? Loki agrees to come along with them, so next up is the fine as ever Brie Larson. Whew, God, she is beautiful in this movie. Sorry. But once the boys have Captain Marvel on their team, everything is set and ready to go, so they start to head out.
Mason Weaver, photographer.
Mason Weaver is a woman.
Last time I checked.
I really hate this trope of
female or male character has name typically belonging to other gender, so someone gets them confused.
because it always plays out the same way.
You're a woman and your name is Henry.
Yeah, the last time I fucking checked, idiot.
Everybody shut up, I hate that shit. You see here, my schmucks, I'm a simple man. I see a beautiful Asian woman, I must simp unconditionally. These are my rules that I live by. God, I am down so bad. Fuck me. So these nerds, along with John Goodman, work for Monarch, which is the organization that was introduced in Godzilla, whose objective is to study the creatures in these movies. The Monarch nerds unveil their scientific plan to the military jocks, that plan being that they're gonna drop bombs on Skull Island. So, let me get this straight. These genuinely smart people are gonna drop bombs on an island they suspect might house monsters on par with Godzilla and not expect retaliation? What? And they call themselves scientists?
Not impressed.
So as they all make their way to Skull Island, we get some really good camaraderie among all of these people. These characters may not be very interesting, but I really do appreciate the quips and the jabs that the soldiers do to each other. But to accommodate those boring characters, we also get a really boring and generic script. This guy has a loving family and a newborn son back home. Guess what? He dies. Whoa, big twist. Didn't see that coming. This guy who says, I ain't doing that thing. Well, we're gonna hard cut to him doing that thing. Whoa. This isn't like offensively bad. I've seen worse things, but it was around this point where I started to get annoyed by it. So they arrive on Skull Island, and I gotta say, this is probably the best looking Monsterverse movie. There's these beautiful sweeping shots, there's some sexy slow-mo, and gorgeous colors, mostly of the green and orange variety, but gorgeous all the same. Jordan Vogt-Roberts did a really great job in this aspect. He's like a more colorful Zack Snyder. The military and Monarch start dropping their bombs as music starts to play, and this movie has one of the most 70s soundtracks I have ever heard in a movie. I can't play any of it to prove it, but trust me, it's there, and it is dripping in 70s. And that's not a bad thing. I love music from the 70s, but this did stick out to me. Inevitably, these dumbasses dropped enough bombs, and they pissed off the king of the island, Kong. and he is not happy. So let's talk about how absurdly violent this movie is for PG-13. Like, holy fuck. There are some insane deaths in this movie, and I love it. This shot of Kong from inside the helicopter is fantastic, and it greatly displays how big he is, and this cut from Kong to somebody eating a sandwich, that's great. I love that. Kong fighting the helicopters is a genuinely amazing action set piece. It looks amazing, and it's really intense, and also kind of scary, especially when you compare this to Godzilla's introduction in the previous movie. Whereas Godzilla's was very epic, Kong's here is a lot more enjoyable to watch, as it's more of a fun action set piece opposed to a big cinematic reveal. As Kong wrecks shit, it leads to Samuel Jackson choosing his next opponent and making the decision to go to war with the big monkey. These close-up shots are so bizarre and really jarring, and they make me very uncomfortable, but I can't pinpoint why. So with everybody scattered, these groups of people all set off to do different things. Loki and Captain Marvel are off to the evac site, while Samuel Jackson and his boys are heading to find their lost boy Toby Kebbell, as well as gather weapons so they can kill Kong. Something I really like about this movie is the weird wildlife on Skull Island. In previous iteration, it's always been monsters like big bugs and dinosaurs and whatnot, but here they stick to what Godzilla set up, that the creatures on this planet are just wacky animals living their wacky lives. Except for this spider. Fuck this spider. Fuck this giant spider in particular. Loki and Captain Marvel run into the natives on the island along with John C. Reilly, who is that World War II pilot from the cold open. He's been living here since the 40s and has grown to adapt and coexist with these dudes and grown to understand their culture. John C. Reilly is the best character in this movie. He's funny and broken and sad and crazy, and I love it. Meanwhile, Toby Kebbell chills on a riverbank where Kong shows up to bathe. And God, I can't get over how good the CGI is in this movie. Look at the detail on Kong. Holy shit. Also, fun fact, Toby Kebbell actually supplied some mocap for Kong so they could get some of that human expression and mannerisms. And I think it was definitely worth it. I really love how much of a character Kong is in this movie. Whereas Godzilla feels like just a big force of nature in his movies, Kong feels like an actual character with humanity and personality. And I really like that contrast between them. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel and the crew vibe as they listen to John C. Reilly tell stories about how he and the Japanese fighter pilot became really good friends and went on to navigate and live on this island with the locals and Kong and whatnot. And all of that sounds like a much better movie. They should have made that instead. John C. Reilly also introduces the audience to the villainous monster of the movie, the Skull Crawlers. I really like the Skull Crawlers. I really like the design, and I really like that they are the natural enemy of Kong's species, similar to Godzilla and the Mutos from the first movie. Brie Larson looking beautiful and taking pictures of these people is really cute, and I really like this scene. That's all I got. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Toby Kebbell, the guy with a newborn kid back home, gets fucking whacked halfway through the movie. But that makes sense. Motherfucker wasn't really doing anything, and they were already paying him to be Kong, so you know, whatever. So we get a scene between all of these people, which is meant to make them interesting and endearing, but they just aren't. But I do like that soon after, this Monarch guy gets randomly killed in a horribly vicious way that he definitely didn't deserve. Good stuff. So all our characters meet up and exchange hugs and whatnot.
We're all gonna die together out here. You're a good group of boys to die with, I'll tell you that much. You should have come here.
He's so good. So everyone sets off to look for Toby Kebbell, and they come across this little valley.
I've taken enough photos of mass graves to recognize one.
The dialogue isn't atrocious in this movie, but every once in a while you get a truly terrible line like this. As these peeps venture through the mass grave, they get attacked by a skullcrawler, who eats John Goodman. And when I started this script, I said that he was one of the more enjoyable characters, but I actually completely forgot that he died, and I'm adding this now as an ad-lib later on. So yeah, when I said that he was an interesting character, I take that back. He's not. Fuck that guy. This skullcrawler chase/fight is fantastic. I really like how this movie keeps action sequences fresh and interesting. We get Kong versus choppers, brief monster fights, people versus monsters a couple times, but it's different both times, and then a big monster fight in the end. By doing this, it prevents the audience from getting tired of the action because each encounter is unique and provides a different type of entertainment. The Skullcrawler hacks up Toby Kebbell's dog tags, and Loki sees this, but chooses to say nothing to Sam Jackson, despite the whole reason these people are here right now is because they're looking for Toby Kebbell. So if Loki were to just say something, they could all leave, and they probably could save a couple lives that end up being taken within the next 30 seconds. The fight continues, and I really love how horrible and cruel the kills are in this movie. Like, I know I just said that they could all leave, but if they did, we wouldn't get these awesome kills, so I'm kind of conflicted. They're truly magnificent, and they really push the boundaries with a PG-13 rating. This is so fucking silly. What movie am I watching right now? After all of that, Loki finally speaks up and tells Sam Jackson that Toby Kebbell is dead. But Sam Jackson doesn't really give a shit because all he wants now is to kill Kong. I said in my Godzilla video that I was really glad that movie didn't become
Big bad army man wants to kill monster, now we gotta stop him.
well, this movie does become that, and it's pretty dumb. Although it makes sense for Sam Jackson's character as a guy who just wants to fight something, it is still cliche and uninteresting, and I can't forgive that. So everybody splits up again, and we get the one F-bomb that's allowed in a PG-13 movie, and this movie chooses to waste it on a joke about ants.
Ants. Big ones. There's one. Sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant.
Meanwhile, Loki and Captain Marvel hang out with Kong, and I really like this moment. It's really good, and I love how much emotion is on Kong's face. It humanizes the big monkey and makes the audience care about him, more than we would have if he had just been a monster who does a big punch. Sam Jackson and his boys fight Kong and actually bring him down. There's some talking, some mutinying, some more talking, and the biggest skullcrawler you ever bloody seen shows up. I said bloody because Film Fella says bloody. I'm coming for his brand. Better watch yourself. Two things I don't like here. I don't like how the Skullcrawler just pins Kong down and fucks off. Like, dude, kill him. He's your natural enemy. You came out here to kill him, so kill him. I also don't like that it's the middle of the night here, and then it's midday a few minutes later. That don't make any sense. Oh yeah, there was this guy who was like the funny weirdo of the group the whole movie, and he was one of the more enjoyable, forgettable characters, and he attempts to buy his boys some time, but he fails miserably. I know a lot of people criticize this sacrifice, but I actually really like it. People complain that it's a pointless sacrifice, but that's the point. This guy was like, I'll have a hero's death and save my friends, only to get jaw checked so hard he fucking explodes. I really enjoy that. I think that's great. Like I said before, the deaths in this movie are not honorable, good hero deaths. The deaths in this movie are just horrible, gruesome, grisly deaths, and that's the point. It would have been weird if the one guy in the movie who wasn't a central character gets like one actual impactful death. That wouldn't really work. So I do enjoy that even in the end, this movie stayed true to what it was trying to do and just show fucking horrible deaths happening to people who probably didn't deserve it. This final battle is fantastic and hands down the best one in this franchise. It looks great, and I love that it's during the day so I can actually see it. After some big punches get thrown, the Skullcrawler puts Kong on his ass, but is distracted by the Monarch dude shooting at him. I find it odd that the Skullcrawler would opt to pursue Loki opposed to going after the thing that's shooting him in the head, but whatever. Kong's round-ending kill is glorious. I don't know if I like it more than Godzilla's, but it is truly spectacular and fittingly brutal. Kong wins the fight, he walks away, the people leave Skull Island, and we're done. Just like in Godzilla, this movie has the final battle, 10 seconds of wrap up, and then credits. I love it, that's great. I also really like this scene in the credits of John C. Reilly meeting his son and seeing his wife again. It's really cute and nice, and I really like it. Oh yeah, post credits. I like it a lot, except for the bad dialogue.
I promise I won't tell the Russians.
Promise I will tell the Russians.
She's gonna tell the Russians.
It's something the fans will appreciate, but it also gives general audiences a semblance of what kind of universe this is and what they can expect to see in it. But let me tell you, I had a full seizure in the theater when I saw this shit, dude. I got hella hyped. And then it all ends with Godzilla's roar, hinting at who the real king of the monsters is. So there you have it, Kong Skull Island. I like it. It's a really good looking kaiju movie with great action bits and fun little moments, but that's kind of it. It's a well shot and really nice looking movie with incredible CGI, but the dialogue is noticeably worse than Godzilla's. The human characters are incredibly uninteresting, and there's some really dull and cliche writing in the script. After watching Godzilla 2014 and seeing how surprisingly well written that movie was, this movie's lackluster script really caught my eye in not the best of ways. This movie also does little to nothing for the Monsterverse as a whole. It doesn't enhance or expand the universe in any way. It just says that Monarch was up to stuff in the 70s, and it introduces a young Kong who would eventually fight Godzilla. This isn't a bad movie by any stretch. I think it's pretty good, and I had a fun time watching it, but its silliness and its weird tone definitely threw me off on this rewatch, coming off the back of Godzilla, which was a rather serious and as grounded as it could be type of movie. But overall, I do really enjoy Kong Skull Island. Hopefully I can have my Godzilla King of the Monsters video up before Godzilla vs. Kong comes out, but until then, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.